Welcome to the digital version of the McDowell Sonoran Conservancy Natural History course. The course is designed to provide you with some basic insight on the geology, the ecology, the flora, the fauna, even the cultural history of the McDowell Sonoran Preserve. This class will focus on the flora section and will deal with wildflowers that you can expect to find in the preserve. I'm Steve Dodd. I'm a Master Steward with the Conservancy, and for the next 15 minutes or so, I'll be your guide as we explore some of the wildflowers that you'll want to learn to identify and provide you with a few interesting facts about them. So, let's get started by talking about what exactly is a wildflower. First of all, understand that wildflower is not a scientific term, so if you need the comfort of a precise definition, sorry, you're out of luck. You can find lots of definitions for wildflowers, but generally what just about all of those definitions boil down to is this. A wildflower is a flowering plant that grows wild in its native habitat without human intervention. We see lots of blooms in the desert, on our cactus and succulents, on many of our shrubs, even on our native trees. But generally, in our area, we tend to think of wildflowers as those blooming annuals that start popping up in late winter and early spring. So for purposes of this class, let's think of wildflowers in those terms, annuals that grow and bloom in the wild without human intervention. You'll often hear these plants referred to as ephemerals, which means short-lived. They sprout, grow, bloom, and seed in early spring before the extreme heat and dryness return in the summer. So now that we know what a wildflower is and that they start blooming in spring, exactly when is wildflower season? The best answer is, well, that depends. If you try to guess, you'll likely guess wrong because there are a wide range of variables that determine when and also how profusely the spring wildflower showing will be. The biggest variable, of course, is rainfall. Not only how much, but also when it occurs. To have a good wildflower season, we usually have to have some good soaking rains in September and in October. That gets the germination process going for most of the annuals. And then we also need some additional good soaking rain in late December and early January as well. Although many other variables also affect the season, without the proper rainfall, not much else matters. Temperature also plays a role. How early in the year does it start to warm up, and how warm does it get how early? And after a few weeks of warming up, do we get another cold spell? And how cold and how long does it last? Even the wind, do we get a lot of hot winds after the plants start sprouting that dries the tender sprouts out quickly before they've had a chance to bloom? And finally, don't forget the desert is filled with microclimates. The rains and temperatures and wind we get on one side of the mountain may be different from the rains and temperatures that we get on the other side of the mountain. And then the northern area of the preserve may be vastly different from the southern area. And not everything blooms at the same time. So, if someone asks you, when does wildflower season, do you think you can give them a good answer? It depends. It's looking a lot better, isn't it? Let's go through 10 wildflowers that you're likely to see in the preserve, even in years in which we may have a not so great wildflower season. You may have to look a little harder in the lean years, but most of these that we talk about today will be there. But first, a caution about the names before we do. Keep in mind that common names vary by region, so what may be called something here may be different from what you called it back home. For example, our lupin is a bluebonnet in Texas. Some plants even have multiple common names right here in our own area. So as we go through these, we'll include the most common names as well as the scientific name of the plant. When you see that blanket of gold flowers on all those Arizona highways calendars and magazine spreads, what you're seeing are Mexican gold poppies. The yellow to yellow-orange 4-petal flowers are cup-shaped and about 1.5 inches in diameter. They grow on a single stalk about 1 foot tall. The flowers open on warm, sunny days and close up at night and on cloudy days. Lupins are blue to purple flowers on spikes atop a base of compound palmate or hand-shaped leaves, generally growing to about a foot tall. You may encounter a couple of species in the preserve, Arizonicus, which has the lighter blue flowers, and Sparsiiflorus, which tends to be more of a purple color. The hand-shaped leaves move to track the sun during the day and then fold up at night. Woolly daisies are small white flowers, about 1/2 inch wide with a yellow disc center, most often growing less than 4 inches tall. The white rays are notched at the tips, and the gray-green woolly leaves grow close to the stems, giving the appearance of a fine white wool that surrounds the plant. In a rainy year, these can carpet the ground. Purple owl's clover, also called exserted Indian paintbrush, is one of our showiest spring flowers, growing from 6 to 12 inches tall with bright purple flowers with yellow tips growing among pink-purple bracts or modified leaves. The tips resemble the end of a paintbrush, or some people say they look like an owl's eyes peering from the plant, hence the common names. You'll see dense stands of owl's clover after wet winters. Fiddleneck has yellow to yellow-orange flowers growing on a curved top stalk that resembles the neck of a violin. When plants employ this curved fluorescence technique, the flowers generally bloom in succession, with the showiest bloom always at the top of the curve to better attract pollinators. The plant can grow to 24 inches tall or more, and both the leaves and the stalk of the plant are bristly. The bristles can irritate human skin, especially when the plant is very dry, so avoid handling it or brushing against it if you're wearing shorts. Desert hyacinth, also called blue dicks, have small violet to purple flowers clustered at the top of a leafless stalk which can grow up to 24 inches tall. There will usually be 3 or 4 individual 1-inch flowers at the top of the stem. The leaves near the base of the stem are grass-like, and when crushed, they smell like an onion. The plant reproduces from both seed and from a fibrous onion-like corm. A corm is like a bulb. One of the earliest bloomers of the season, Fillory is a low-growing, sprawling plant with violet to purple 5-petal flowers that grow up to about a 1/2 inch in diameter. The styles of the flower rapidly elongate after fertilization, becoming a beak up to about 2 inches long and giving the plant its stork's bill or heron's bill common name. The styles, or this beak, curls and uncurls in response to humidity. You can blow hot breath on one, and when you do, you can watch it slowly curl. There are multiple species of Phacelia in the preserve. Sizes of flowers range from as small as 1/8 of an inch or so to a little more than 1/2 an inch. Flower colors range from pale blue to lavender blue, and many grow on fiddleneck-like stiff hair coils that resemble a scorpion's tail or even a caterpillar. Plants can be from a few inches tall up to about 18 inches high and have scalloped or toothed leaves. With its 1.5 inch diameter flower with bright white rays, desert chicory is easy to spot in the preserve. Note that the rays are broad and squared off at the tips, and the tips are sawtoothed. The underside of the rays is marked with light maroon streaks, and the leaves are a gray-green. This plant can grow as high as about 20 inches. There are several different species of Gilia in the preserve, and a magnifying glass is handy for viewing the detail in the small 1/8 inch to 1/2 inch diameter flowers. The flowers are marked by 5 petals, and colors range from light blue to purple. Most common in the preserve is the lesser yellow-throated Gilia, a pale blue with a yellow throat. The flowers grow on thin wispy stems and can be up to about 18 inches tall. So that's 10 wildflowers you'll likely to see most any year, but there are many, many others. So how do you remember what's what, especially when you see them only once a year? Remember 8th grade botany class and learning the parts of a flower? Well, your teacher was right. It was stuff you really should know because in this case, it can help you identify wildflowers. Petals, stamens, styles, anthers, all those things can help you identify which flower you're looking at. Get a flower diagram like this and hang on to it. And a leaf diagram like this can also be helpful. Get one of these as well. A wildflower field manual is especially handy on the trail, and this is a great one. Okay, so we may be a little biased. After all, Mary Ann Jensen, the author and photographer, is a fellow Steward. But if you only buy one field guide for wildflowers, make it this one. It's easy to use as a field reference because it only deals with flowering plants found in the preserve. It's compact and easy to carry and arranged by color of the flowers. Plus, Mary Ann donates proceeds from the sale of this guide to MSC. You can get one of these from the office. And that wraps up our presentation on wildflowers. I hope you'll continue to learn more on your own. I think the more you learn about wildflowers, the more you'll appreciate how these fascinating blooming plants not only sprout, but thrive in our desert environment. And I hope you'll join me for additional classes from the Flora section. We have one on cactus and succulents, we have another on our native desert trees, and a third one on shrubs you'll find in the desert. Thanks for watching.